evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. CC here, Chris, from New York, Westchester County.
Chris, buddy, Al, hey, why do you still use that annoying way of introducing yourself? I mean, if people by now don't already know who you are and where you're from, either they're lucky enough to have never had a video of yours show up in their feed, or if they are subscribed to you, they're just that dumb and you need to remind them every single time you come on camera. Wait a minute. You preach to flat earthers. That explains everything.
Anyway, summer's over, fall begins, and a new chapter for your children in school of their lives begins.
Okay, that was just creepy. The way you took that deep breath and sighed when you were talking about my children. I know that you're not allowed to make videos in your own house anymore because your wife thinks you're just as nuts as we do, and that you've had to move into your creeper van. But just because you're in that van doesn't mean you have to act like a creeper. If my kid got within 100 yards of you, I would probably ground them for the rest of their life.
How's everything over in your county, state, country? Everything's good? Yeah, everything's just Jim Dandy over here in New York. Yeah, they're starting to wear the face masks again. On the road, on the street, if you walk through town, 25-30% are wearing the diaper. They're not part of the system. Wait a minute, are we wearing them again? Because they were all wearing them at one time, weren't they? We were the only ones that weren't.
So you're proud that you were the ones that weren't wearing face masks. It's people like you that are the reason why we're having such a hard time getting rid of this virus. So congratulations on being a buddy killer. I hope that you're proud of yourself.
Oh shit, so many things to talk about, but let's just get into this. Let's talk about Earth.
So finally, we're going to talk about the Earth in your Flat Earth video. It took you long.
I love Earth.
I love Earth too. It's a wonderful planet. It's the only one in our solar system that can sustain life on its surface. I honestly wouldn't want to live anywhere else than on our wonderful globe.
Earth is so easy to tell somebody who's not a flat earther the points of the ridiculous nonsense that they believe by living on a spinning wet ball. Okay, like for example, where is the bleeding part of space begin?
Okay, so atmospheric bleeding, as you like to call it, is a real phenomenon. However, it's not what you think it is. You're thinking that it's the vacuum of space sucking the atmosphere off.
Since the atmosphere is bleeding out into space, and space is a vacuum, which is sucking everything off, there shouldn't be anything at all here.
Okay, first of all, there is no giant Hoover in space. The vacuum of space is just an area with nothing in it. No gas, no other particles. It's just a low-pressure system, an extremely low-pressure system. Second, the area in which we lose the atmosphere, to answer your question, is extremely high altitudes known as the thermosphere and the exosphere. And what little atmosphere there is extremely thin, and it consists mainly of hydrogen and helium. Several factors contribute to the gradual loss of our atmosphere into space. Thermal escape is one of them. Some of the lighter molecules in the Earth's atmosphere, such as hydrogen and helium, can actually gain enough kinetic energy from the sun's heat to escape the Earth's gravitational pull. However, you see this more on smaller planets where there isn't as strong of a gravitational pull. Another contributing factor is the solar wind. The sun emits a stream of charged particles known as the solar wind. These particles can interact with the Earth's magnetic field, causing small amounts of atmospheric loss. The loss is more significant for planets like Mars, which lacks a decent magnetic field. And then there's also sputtering. High energy particles from space, such as cosmic rays, can collide with molecules in the upper atmosphere, causing them to be ejected into space. This process is relatively slow, but contributes to atmospheric escape over geological timescales. And that's the thing, we're talking geological timescales. It's not like it's being ripped off right away.
But, all right, we'll just forget about that for a sec. I want you to think about this, though. If we do live on a ball and we're not covered with a dome, and the atmosphere is actually leaving this spinning wet ball, this imaginary spinning wet ball, why isn't the atmosphere, which is mostly moisture, freezing? It should be, shouldn't it? be. I would say so.
The Earth's atmosphere is not mostly moisture. If it was mostly moisture, I'm pretty sure we would have all drowned or evolved gills by now. The atmosphere is mainly nitrogen gas at about 78%, and oxygen at about 21%. There's a few other gases sprinkled in here and there just for fun, but as far as water vapor in the atmosphere, it's going to be dependent on the area that you're in. Some areas, like rainforests, are a little bit more humid, so they can be up to about 4%. Drier areas like desert, they can be down to as little as 0.1%. Now, keeping all that in mind, water vapor mainly only exists in the troposphere, which is where we live at. The higher you go, the drier the air gets, until water vapor becomes non-existent. Now, as I said before, at high elevations, the moisture content goes down. But you are right about the moisture content freezing at high elevations. In clouds, water droplets freeze and crystallize and then grow by adding more moisture, and then once they get heavy enough, they fall back to Earth in either rain, snow, or hail.
It's going into the coldness, the endless amount of space, the freezing cold of space. So in a sense, the Earth should be covered in this frozen little ball.
The atmosphere isn't going to freeze. The higher you get, the lower the pressure and the gases are more spread out. And if you get all the way out to the thermo and exospheres, the gas concentration is mainly hydrogen and helium. And the higher you go, the less pressure there is. Reducing the pressure generally lowers the freezing point of gases. At lower pressures, gases are more likely to exist in the gaseous phase and may not readily transition into a liquid or solid state, even at those lower temperatures. And even if you had the same pressure you have here on Earth, it still isn't cold enough to freeze the gases in our atmosphere solid. Hydrogen freezes at temperatures of more than 250 degrees below 0 Celsius. And for example, the temperature outside the ISS on the dark side of the Earth is only about 157 degrees below Celsius. The ISS is also in an extremely low pressure area with the pressure near 0 torr. So there's not even enough gas out there to freeze. And the closer you get to Earth, the warmer it's going to get, so the chances of our atmosphere freezing solid is 0.
You know, it's just so ridiculous how anybody can believe that we live on a spinning wet ball, that we're in this endless space, that there's nothing out there.
Nothing out there, you say. The Earth's mass consists of about 10 to the negative 26% of the entire mass of the universe. So no, there is more out there than you could possibly imagine. The universe is a vast and wondrous place, and I for one am excited to learn what's out there. I know that you are closed-minded and that you really only think about yourself. But give this a try, CC. This is a big, wonderful globe we live in. Try to learn something new.
Okay, our science is simple. You know, covered with a dome, stationary, no space at all whatsoever.
Ah, that explains it. Your science is simple, like the science you learned in 3rd grade.
Everything's inside. Stars, sun, not floating around in space at all these astronomical amount of speed.
Look, Chris, just because you're too stupid to learn anything past an elementary education doesn't mean there isn't more out there. And you are not allowed to try and dumb down the rest of the world just to meet your standards. It's really typical of flat earthers to try to dumb everyone else down to their level just because you don't understand the science that has existed for over 2,500 years. Okay? Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And just because you want to deny something that you can't wrap your tiny brain around doesn't mean that other people need to dumb down to your level.
Well, it's simple for us because we understand it.
You understand it because you made it up. No, that's giving you too much credit. You got your education in 2015 when Flat Earth became popular on YouTube. You watched a couple of idiots spew some nonsense. Now you think you're some kind of genius who knows more than all of the greatest of minds over the last 2 millennia, and you're spreading that same nonsense.
Okay. The people that believe in a spinning wet ball, they don't understand what's going on. They have no idea. They don't know.
Oh, they do understand. There are scientists that have spent their whole lives and careers furthering their own education and learning things about the world that you couldn't even imagine. So just because you're too lazy to go out and try and learn something new and then apply that to your life doesn't mean that the rest of us need to be like you.
Understand how fast Venus is spinning right now?
Except we do know those things. Venus spins on its own axis approximately every 243 Earth days. We know Venus's rotation period through observations and measurements made using telescope and radar.
You know, they don't know if they live in an everlasting expanding universe, or is it contracting?
And the redshift of distant galaxies shows us that we are in an expanding universe. If it was contracting, we would see a blue ship.
Is it expanding? I don't know. The scientists can't seem to figure that out.
Yes, you don't know. But scientists and astronomers and anyone with the ability to learn, study, and experiment have the ability to know these things, which they do.
Have you ever seen a star?
Yes, I see stars every night when it's clear outside. They're a beautiful thing. Betelgeuse is actually my favorite star. It's a red supergiant about 725 light years away from Earth in the constellation Orion. It's actually near the end of its life, and we're soon going to be treated to a beautiful experience when it dies, because we will witness an amazing supernova. But thank you for asking them.
No, you've seen lights up in the sky that are flickering.
Okay, well then.
Has anybody bothered to look any of the verses in the Bible about waters above? No, they haven't. They have come up with ways to try to debunk us, which is total nonsense of garbage.
Okay, let me ask you some questions, Chris. What are those lights made out of? What makes them light at all? You know, if they're like normal light bulbs, who changes the bulbs to make sure they don't go out? What makes them actually move around us? Why can you only see some stars in the northern hemisphere and other stars in the southern hemisphere? Why are there lights that wander? All you have said is, my book said so, and your book isn't even a science textbook. Give me an explanation on how those lights work.
Has anybody who believes in a ball ever bothered to go out and get a camera, over-the-counter camera, you don't have to order anything fancy, and zoom in on these things and actually look at what the flickering little round thing looks like? Yeah, it doesn't look anything like anything NASA has put out. No, it looks like there's water in the background. That's what the flickering is all about. Okay?
No, zooming in with a camera is just lazy. Go get a telescope and do the exact same thing. I bet it'll look different. What you are seeing is an out-of-focus star. I can do the exact same thing with a street light or a Christmas tree. It's called bokeh, you idiot. How about you learn how a fucking camera works first, and then second, go get the proper tools you need to conduct the experiments that you're talking about, and third, just fuck off. I can't stand your stupid voice and your troll doll haircut. Yeah, an internet troll that actually looks like a troll doll. Anyways, there's one last point in this video I want to cover, and it shows how horrible of a person CC Chris from Westchester County, New York, really is.
Funding stuff that you would never think your money would be funding. That's sad, guys. Allowing illegals to come in here and sit down with your children in a classroom. Well, your child had to get vaccinated with everything under the sun, and this child doesn't have to do anything at all. And not even speak American.
So you're not only a science-denying dumbass, but you're also a bigot and a racist too. Good to know, asshole. First of all, most of those people that you're talking about are not here illegally. Second, they do have to get vaccinated. They just have a longer time frame to do it because they came here from places that don't have the same vaccination requirements that we do. So they will eventually be vaccinated. And just so you know, compulsory education laws make it a requirement for all children to attend school, regardless of their citizenship or immigration status here in the United States. And I'm sure that most of those children are happy to be able to attend school. Now, as far as your racist statement about them being allowed to sit next to our children and not having to speak American, you don't even speak American. And you're in America. You speak English. Guess what? That language started in another country and was brought here. It really pisses me off when I hear people say that, if you're going to be in my country, then you better speak my language. Because if that were the case, then everyone in the United States should be speaking Native American Indian. You know what you can do to make things better? You can learn a second language. I've been slowly learning Spanish myself, and now I have some really good friends that I wouldn't have had before because of the language barrier. What you don't get, Chris, is that America is a melting pot of peoples from all over the world living in one place together. Our country was founded on that very thing, and before you try to say that you're protecting America with your bigoted beliefs, you really need to look into American history. The Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal. So you know what, Chris? You may think that you're better than the immigrant that's being forced to sleep on the street right now because there's no room for him or her in the shelters, but you're not. You're both human beings, and you both live on this planet together. Our country was built on the backs of foreigners that just wanted a chance to have a good life. So they came here searching for those freedoms and chances that we have here. And it continues to this day. People just want a chance at good life, and the majority of peoples that enter this country have that purpose in mind. And just because they want to come here doesn't mean they need to forget who they are and where they came from, including the language they speak. The children of the people coming here will learn English while they attend school. What we truly need is more teachers that are bilingual. Not to say that if you don't speak the same language I do, then you need to get out. Because the only way they would even be able to learn another language is if somebody is willing to teach them. So what we need to do as peoples of Earth is come together and look out for the person next to us and not dismiss them because they look or sound different than we do. Because no matter what, we're all humans. We're all brothers and sisters on this beautiful planet of ours, and we should take care of each other.